this is Dr. Tamsin Astor, Chief Habit Scientist, coming to you today, Wednesday, May 11th, with my newsletter. Do you want freedom? Then try this. A friend of mine posted this fabulous Viktor Frankl quotation this morning, and if you don't know him, you should check him out because he's amazing. He was in concentration camps in Auschwitz, and when he came out, having experienced horrible, horrible awfulness, he decided to become a psychologist and dedicate the rest of his life to understanding how people can choose the responses to the situations they're in. So even if they're in awful circumstances, how can we choose to act, behave, think differently? So this quotation that a friend of mine posted was, between stimulus and response, there is a space. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. In that space is our power to choose. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. Right? This made me think, right, about how true it is in so many areas of our life, this, willingness to look at the gap between stimulus and response. And of course, it reminded me of being in graduate school because in my PhD, which was called Intention and Reactivity, I had to gather a lot of this data, what was called the right sort of data, the objective data, right, which was looking at the relationship between stimulus and response. And it was all about proving a hypothesis about positive relationships between different areas of the brain. Conscious awareness, which, was the awareness of the difference or the speed of your response, right, was something that I was really interested in, and my PhD supervisor was also interested in. So I had a whole section in my PhD on conscious awareness, i.e., were people aware when it was just hundredths or tenths of a second difference in their response when they did certain conditions? However, the examiners of my PhD were very behaviorist and didn't want that and thought it was irrelevant to understanding the relationship between intention and reaction. So I have two versions of my PhD, the one that I submitted with the conscious awareness chapter and the one without that was passed. Anyway, as a mother, particularly of little people and now of teenagers who sometimes make questionable decisions, I am really aware of the gap between the stimulus and the response. I'm aware of the gap between the stimulus and response. And as a coach, one of the things that I coach my clients around is, why did you do that? What could you have done differently? Were you aware of your choice in that moment or only after? What other choices could you have made, right? And ultimately, this is about freedom. It's about recognizing that you can choose. And in that choice, is where you can grow. And in that choice, you can cultivate your freedom. And even though slowing down and paying attention can be really boring, it's perhaps even the hardest part. It can be the most rewarding because that's where you grow and cultivate your freedom so that you can live the life that you love and get up every day with outrageous joy, right? So an example of this would be with one of my clients, right? Often this comes up with food, which might seem mundane or boring, but we all have to eat, right? And our guts have 90% of the serotonin, which is that hormone that helps us feel good. So eating good food is really, really important. I had one client who works a really hard job, really long hours, and he was spending hundreds of dollars a month on takeout delivery food because he was not prioritizing his food prep and he hadn't really figured out how to connect his spending with his bigger vision. So we did some work and realized that he was committed to eating clean and he wanted to eat more of a plant-based diet because he didn't want to spend that much money because he was clear about where he wanted his money to go. And he was also clear about, what he wanted his body to feel like and how he wanted his body to function because he's an athlete, right? And his body was not functioning so well with all of that salt and fat and sugar and the processed food. So when we made a plan and we looked at the choice between the stimulus and the response, right? Slashed his takeout charges, he massively boosted his plant-based meals, and he's noticing the effect not only on his waistline, but on the energy he has for working out, and he also has more freedom, right? Because he's not having to make that decision every night. Where am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? How am I going to eat? Because he's made those plans. He's got more money in his bank account, so that connects to that bigger, juicier vision. He's got more mobility in his body, right? And it's really fun working with him because he's so awesome. He listens, he journals, he reflects, he tries it out, and then he comes back to me, reports, and then he sends me Voxes where he shares all of the good information, like that timer that just went off that's telling me what I need to do next, right? He connects with me like that, which I love. So, why is it important? Because I want you to have freedom too. I want you to wake up every day with a life that you love. So, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your power to choose. In your response lies your growth and freedom. Have a beautiful day.